AI in the university is a fascinating topic from two different perspectives. First, how much do you allow students to use AI in their studies? And second, how can you guarantee that you're properly preparing them for engineering careers when the job function is changing on a regular basis thanks to AI? That's what we tackle on this episode of DevTalk with Rich and Vin. And welcome to yet another episode of DevTalk with Rich and Vin. I'm Rich, and that guy over there is Vin. How you doing, Vin?
I'm great, Rich. How are you?
I am good, and I'm really excited about this discussion that we're going to have today.
Yeah, I am too.
It's so intriguing, and to fill the audience in, we're going to talk about AI and education, and we can go in a lot of different directions with this, but I think the part that's most intriguing to me is where does somebody who's graduating today, is that job that they thought they were going to, that they would take, even be there, or will be taken up by an AI bot? So is that valid?
I think it's a legitimate concern in terms of discussion, but I don't, I've maintained that people will not be replaced by AI, but they'll be replaced with people who know how to use AI, right? So this now becomes an engineering education implication, because do we teach them how to use the tool that we don't want them to use to cheat on their education so that they can use it as a tool when they get out there and be more valuable? There's lots of stuff, going on. And as you know, I'm still very involved in engineering education with the schools that I taught at during the pandemic, and I sit on some advisory boards, and one of them is the advisory board for the electrical and computer engineering department at my alma mater, Stevens. And I know you went to NJIT, and we have this sort of rivalry going, you and I. But I'm going to stack the deck a little bit, because I'm going to bring another Stevens person in who has been a longtime professor there and has become a friend of mine, because we have worked together with students and on projects in senior design and on the board, and has recently been promoted to Associate Dean for Engineering and Science for Undergraduate Studies, which is very exciting. So I'd like to introduce Kevin Liu to everyone. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah.
So we're going to throw you right to the wolves right from the beginning. Let's go back to the education part. How do you stop a student from overusing AI to cheat his way through college?
So at Stevens right now is the topic that all the faculty members are very concerned. And so number one is the school needs a policy, and we have one. It's in all the course syllabus. We have a syllabus template, and the template has a guideline about how to use the generative AI, for coursework. And it's a big challenge for faculty member, because faculty member need to redesign the assignment. So to minimize the way a student just use Gen AI to produce work, which is not exactly theirs. So the first step we took was that we asked students, because it takes time to migrate the entire coursework into the Gen AI compatible platform. And so in transition, we ask students to at least cite, say if they use Gen AI, say Gemini, to produce a picture or an image or anything, or the code, and they have to learn how to cite it. And they are standard way right now for citation. And so they learn that, and also we start to redesign our assignment. And the assignment used to be that solve this problem, right? And now become more like what are the steps to solve this problem? So the student have to still retain critical thinking for the problem solving. And these skills are still very valuable. And so about the job, you say about the job when they graduate, like 3 or 4 years later, or 5 years, some student took co-op.
That's me. I'm the 5-year guy.
So whether the job is still there, right? So the job may continue to evolve like they have been. Students just need to learn how to adapt to it. And so 4 years or 3 to 5 years is a good time to transition, to transform. And
but are you helping these students? Are you preparing them for the AI world?
Yes,
because it's so new. I mean,
oh yeah,
how do you even know what the AI world is at this point?
Well, I think officially it started all this impact on 2022 November, right? It's because of the ChatGPT release, and all of a sudden, everyone start to realize this is going to have revolutionary impact, and here we are. Do you teach
students how to write code now? When I could just pop it into ChatGPT and it'll write it for me.
Well,
do I need a class to do that?
I got to step in here now, right? Because I've seen the results of this, and if you think about it from the education side as well, you know, there's two things. You've got assignments and labs that you do that are supposed to teach you something, and then you have your evaluations of whether the student has absorbed the knowledge and can apply it or not. And I think, honestly, the biggest transition and mutation, if you want, that has to happen is in the evaluation side of things, because this is not going away, right? I remember when calculators came out and everybody's like, they have to do the math in their heads or on a piece of paper and blah, you know, this is going to make, and then we had the same thing happen when simulation came out. You know, people will hook any wire to any wire, and then when it finally starts working, they don't know why it's working. They won't be able to fix it if it stops working. And we've survived all of those things. So if you look at it as a tool and not something, and you have to be careful, you know, engineers can say this, but the financial people will be like, well, can't we just get rid of the engineers and have code written for us? And the answer is, yeah, if you want to lose the company in a few years because the product is no good anymore, right? You still.
But the AI is continually getting better.
Yeah, it is. And you know, someone said to me something the other day, which was really great. He said, you know, AI is as bad as it's ever going to be right now. You know, it's never going to get worse. It's only going to get better, right? But the answer is it still doesn't know everything. And even if it knows everything, it doesn't necessarily know what needs to be applied, right? How does it parse the myriad of information it has in order to know what's valid for this? And that's going to get better over time too, but probably not in the lifetime of someone graduating now or in the next 5 years. What they may use stuff for is assignments, or lab work. And you can say, well, they would learn more if they did the lab work or the assignments on their own. But there's always been collaboration. And interestingly, when I was teaching and we were using, LMS systems, and I was actually putting quizzes and things right in there, I got criticized by other teachers by giving them 2 shots at every test. And I said, no, I have checked this out. When I do their end of term evaluation on their project, I've gone through and because you can see on the LMSs what questions they got wrong and corrected the second time, right? I made note of that for every student, and I asked them questions about the things that they got wrong, that they then got right, and they still knew them. And so the fact that they were able to learn them by failing at a quiz and then getting it right the next time is still a valid learning journey experience, right? Because the idea is at the end of this learning experience of a semester, of a year, of a whatever, they have some kind of ownership of concepts that we said we wanted to teach them in that class, right? Every class has defined for it some learning objectives, right? These are the things you need to know by the time you finish this class. And right. However you get there to actually knowing it and understanding it, I think is a valid part of the journey, which is going to morph over time. And so how we incorporate these things in assignments, in labs, I always encouraged my students to collaborate on homework. I'm like, you just can't submit the same file, change a variable name. But if you guys worked on it together, then it's okay, because you know what? You're going to be working together when you get out of school, and being able to work on a team and not be the old engineer that was, locked in a room and you threw meat at him once a week. You need to be able to work with other people. And that starts right there in school.
Right.
So that said, Kevin,
yeah, right.
What are you hearing from the students? Are they concerned about what they're going to be doing when they graduate? Is this a concern of theirs?
Yes, we just did a survey, and yeah, right. So, but it's still, if you put into a Likert chart, it's still their population. It's like so it's like three different bucket. So one is very concerned. The other is, well, not too concerned, but there's somewhere in the middle. They feel it could be a good opportunity, and so we did survey, and we are doing survey not just for students, but also we are doing that for faculty member, because there are always a adoption rate. Some are the early adopter, some faculty and some faculty member just wait and see. So the survey will end in about a week. So once we gather the data, we are going to have a meeting. So I will be moderating a panel and analyze the data, presenting the data, and then have a discussion. So we are in the middle of this.
Are the professors concerned about their own livelihoods?
Oh yes, because they were actually a lot of speculation said we don't need instructor anymore, right? We just need to have an AI product. Actually, nowadays there are a lot of startup company producing this AI product for classroom, and basically it design it based on the syllabus. They design the coursework, and they have evaluation like Vin, you just said. The evaluation and assessment has to evolve as well. So what they did is that they use the the band Bloom's taxonomy. It's like a pyramid, right? The bottom layer is, they have the revision. It's the bottom layers remember, understand, explain or apply, and then evaluation and create. The top value is to create something novel, something new. And that is the hard part. So the principle is still the same, but the AI tool become, say, they facilitate the student discussion. They actually, the goal is to let students discuss. And they
Now, I know
learn
the
from
audience
each
can't see our faces, but if they had seen Vin's face when I asked the question, do we still need professors? Vin, I think you think we still need professors.
I do. It's funny. We've talked about my love for Italy, and I am studying Italian with a guy in Italy online, and all my relatives
sure it's
over
really
there.
A guy?
It's really a guy. Italian teacher Tony. He's really great. He lives in Verona. He grew up in Sicily, and my cousins over there, especially the young ones, were like, how much is that costing you? Why are you paying all that money? You can just use, any of these AI apps. And I said, I want to learn from another person. I want to be able to have some tangential conversation, because I'll say something and it'll lead us in another direction that the AI wouldn't lead us in. And a really good example is I wrote something for him and I used a word that he was surprised I knew. And I said, you need to understand, when I was in high school and we learned languages, because he's a young guy, he's in his late 20s. I said, we memorized conversations between people. And that's how we learned vocabulary, and that's how we learned grammar. And we learned culture at the same time because we knew how people addressed each other and what the situation was in that this conversation was in. I said, and I will tell you, I still remember word for word the first two. And he said, tell them to me right now. And I went through both of them, and he was like, it's amazing that 50 years later, you still remember these two conversations. So that never would have happened if it had been Duolingo or something like that. So I think these Socratic conversations that you have with your professor are incredibly valuable in maybe not remembering, but in understanding and applying, because you get the tangential knowledge, not just the piece of information.
So are you talking about making them into better engineers or making them into better people?
Is there a difference?
Absolutely.
No, there is not.
Kevin, is there a difference?
Well, engineer is more specific, right? Because but I agree with Vin. You still need to have so we call this a well-rounded model, right? So we want to have engineer is ethical, right? And Vin, I totally agree with you about this human interaction aspect of education. It's very important. It's like we turn on the camera, we can see the body language, right? And
Sure.
Even though we cannot, I can even feel the warmth, right? The enthusiasm, things like that. And with AI, it's kind of repetitive, because right now I turn on YouTube, a lot of talking head is AI generated, right? And you can see the repeating pattern, right? It's hand gesture is like every so often has something. It's programmed.
Yeah. It's like the famous M dash, right? If there was an M dash in something, you knew it was probably generated by ChatGPT, and they went and fixed that, right? So
that's very funny. Okay, so let's use the crystal ball. Let's go out about 3 years, say. What's the world going to look like with all this AI interaction?
You take it first, Kevin, and then I'll give my view. Go ahead.
Well, 3 years from now, wow. I think most of the engineering discipline is still there are certain engineering discipline may advance faster. Computer science may be the first one got impact significantly. Electrical and computer engineering may follow. But the engineering aspect, I'm not too concerned, right? Our lab is still, we still want students to learn, to touch the embedded system, visual, they can see it, right? Not just seeing something from the screen or, so that aspect, I don't think will change that quickly. And so I'm hopeful that student will be able to use AI tool and still retain their critical thinking and can still produce innovation. It's so I think we are not quite there yet, but we are kind of evolving with the current trends.
And we'll be having this conversation from the back seat of your autonomous vehicle, right?
Probably. That's okay. That's okay.
Well, that can happen today. It's just not every or like everywhere yet, right? So right.
Vin, I know you want to answer the question. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I do. I have 3 overlapping thoughts in a Venn diagram, or what I like to call a Vin diagram. So the first is that it's going to be different for different industries and different technologies. For something like a PC or a server or Linux or something where code is being written to a well-defined API that's ubiquitous, you're going to get more AI work done there because you don't need to know anything about the system underneath, because you know what the calls are, you know what they do, they're well-defined, and you can get code for that. You won't get that transition as quickly in an embedded system where every piece of hardware is different. Every API you probably have written yourself. Even if there's an RTOS, that's only for task switching and stuff like that. So that is going to be a place where there still is going to be a lot of human interaction in engineering. And certainly, depending on what part you pick, some are more popular than others. And so there'll be more for the AI to draw information from the web, from other places, right? So that's the first thought. The second thought is it's not just about 3 years out, it's more than that. If you think about what I call the pyramid of expertise, you have a large population at the bottom, which are kids coming out of school and doing that. And then some of them decide engineering is not for them. Some of them want to make more money and become, salespeople, and maybe even in technology or in marketing or start their own company. And so the population gets smaller and you move to the mid-level engineer. And then from there, more people maybe go into management or other things like that. And then you have your experts at the top of the pyramid. It is the experts that are driving and interpreting the output of the AI that is being used for the menial tasks that are being done by the people in the lower end of the pyramid, which means the population at the bottom is smaller, which means we have fewer people to pick from to get to that next level, and we'll have fewer experts. So suddenly you will have AI generating things, not being evaluated by experts because they're just not the same level. And so now what the AI is learning in the future is suboptimal. So now you're going to get this dip in AI effectiveness because they're reproducing bad designs until it turns around again. I think it's going to be an effective tool. And my third thought is that it may transition what engineering looks like. There are a lot of companies looking. When you do simulation, you'll simulate the analog part. You may do some simulation of some code, but nobody is simulating end-to-end a full system, right? In one package. If we get there, there will be what I would call real world modeling engineering, where you actually have to create the excitation of the real world for this fully simulated system. That doesn't exist today, or it's a very small thing. I think that's going to be an evolution in engineering. And I think prompt engineering and how to interpret the output, just like debugging and troubleshooting is an engineering discipline, right? Test engineering is its own separate thing. The ability to do that, to write prompts to get effective answers, is also going to become an engineering discipline. So I think those three things overlap to say, this is where the sweet spot is if this is going to be an effective thing. And we'll find that just like, Steven's electrical engineering student takes mechanical engineering classes, right? Because there are implications in the larger puzzle for the thing you do in your piece. And I think that's going to happen everywhere. You're going to learn to do prompting, even if you're designing circuits. Just like you now have to learn simulation if you're going to design circuits. Nobody's sitting there and doing, differential equations out on a piece of paper with a pencil anymore. Maybe some people, but not the lion's share of engineers. So.
Wow. Well, thank you for that very brief explanation.
I think about this a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do have concern. My concern is the student is now lacking I call it diagramming skill. Programming is okay, they can get it out from chatbot. But diagramming right now, not many tools available. They are tools, and many of them are free for students. You can generate flowchart by text. You give the chatbot the text, and they produce this flowchart for you. So I saw students have a lot of that. Basically, I asked for a flowchart. They came back with a text described flowchart, but not a flowchart itself.
That's actually very funny.
So this is something, it's my concern. I'm still working on it, try to motivate students to still use the diagrams, any kind of diagrams.
That's awesome. I would love to hook up with you again, Kevin, a year from now and see where this has taken us, because it's a whole new world out there.
Yep. Yeah. Great. Well, Rich, I'm hoping that sometime in 26 we do a roundtable of people in education, people in industry, people supporting the transition, and even some graduates who have been out a few years to see what their world is like. And Kevin can be part of that. We can do a live video thing. Maybe we'll host it at Stevens. We'll do it there. You're from New Jersey.
I do a bunch of podcasts with CEOs, and I very often ask them if an entry-level engineer should be concerned whether he'll have a job or not. And the answers are pretty much across the board. I've had everything from, no, of course not, to, yeah, you better believe it. So there's no real consensus.
I go back to, you won't be replaced by AI, but you could be replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI, right?
Okay.
It's all about the tools. It's all about knowing how to use the tools and how to interpret it.
Very good. Well, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, thanks for taking the time and joining us. I love these conversations, and you and I have them all the time. And now there's one of public record. So
there you go.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.